Hey Nippers, it's me, Wild Neptune. Today, I want to talk about the Great Rift. Let's go. Here we are at the Great Rift main page, and you see my high score, 786k, not that bad, pretty good actually, top 10%, again, really good for a non-meta team. However, if I want to reach like top 5, 3, even 1%, I have to use this meta team right here, which is Tressa, Cassius, and Mika. So my team of Ray, Manoa, and Nia are not going to cut it. Even getting to top 100, which again, pretty big deal, I think. I think a lot of players would really like to reach this stage right here. Even reaching like 900, even 850k, I think I would have to change to this team. I'm pretty sure with my current setup, something like 820 might be the max. Maybe if I had more copies of Renoa, I could reach there a little bit easier. However, my Renoa is basically fully potentialed out. The gear got better, the decks have gotten better, I've optimized more, and it's been really, really hard for me to try to break to that 800k marker. And I've been trying, like, believe me. It's not only that all the teams are the same, the decks also are very similar to each other also. So, look here, Shadow Reload, 4 copies, you have Dice Trick, 4 copies, and you have Source of Water, 4 copies also. A lot of decks also be running Glorious Resistance here, which I also run in my setup. This makes it so that I have the AP at the start of each turn. You have also a Futility. I don't know why, because where is the utility here for the healing, which I also have for my setups also. And a lot of ones will also have in the total hunger. This guy doesn't, however, it doesn't really matter because he's the high score. All the Trestles will also be having this Chains of Obsession, where you get the shielding, and you want to get the shielding because you get bonus for shielding. You also get bonuses for perfect blocking when you have the shield. And the damage reduction, the damage HP you take doesn't really matter when you have Mika on your team, just healing, everything like that. And getting a bunch of shields is really, really easy with Tressa because of all the shallow reloads and all the healing. So you spam those zero cost cards to do everything in addition to the dice tricks to search and everything like that. So the fight itself is just very fine-tuned to be just weak to the current meta composition. I think in almost any game, it's very frustrating when you see that one team is just so much better than every other team or every other strategy, and it doesn't really matter what you're playing if you're not playing that top tier option. In those cases, a lot of times, things get banned, they get nerfed, they get changed. We know that nerfs are not going to happen in this game, and I do think that some mechanical or some other changes are going to be needed to the Great Rift to make it a intriguing and a thing that people will actually want to do and really fight for the leaderboards, because it just feels really, really bad to know that you have to use one team overall. And I understand that this is only the first Great Rift they've ever done, so they have a lot of room to change and to switch things up. I understand too that the element of the boss will probably change also, so Tressa probably will not be good in the next one. It will be like maybe a blue unit or maybe a red unit will be the best. We don't know quite yet. If it's a red unit, obviously Mei Lin is going to be dominant overall, I think, unless some other changes happen to it to make it not like that. So I'm going to suggest some things that they can do to maybe help change and alleviate this frustration that me and I think some other people also are having with this current game mode. So I think the first thing they should do is consider buffing a lot of neutral cards, at least to be on par or pretty close to combatant cards overall, so that they can, or people can, have different variations of different decks. Maybe some neutral cards they want to use over another one, and they can just have a little bit of a tech or flair in their own setups. Maybe, again, one of them will prove to be the best one, but I think that the discovery of which one is going to be the best one could also be part of the fun. I think that for this current Great Rift, that it was very quickly discovered what the best team was and what the best setup was overall, and people just beeline towards that. There was no discovery, like nothing happened at all, and all of these cards, they're just like not used. Like none of these really matter at all. This kind of filler because they don't really do anything. Like, again, Glorious Resistance is the only real neutral card that you need that is not a forbidden card. All the other ones are not really viable. I guess Wander of the Void is something that you might also consider having because of Tressa, but that's really it, I think. Sometimes other upgrade cards also are pretty good, but yeah, besides that, you don't really need anything. Another thing too is mechanics, where any boss that has a stack mechanic is going to be somewhat susceptible to spam units like Tressa. I think, first of all, any boss that has stacks, extra attacks, have to count against the stacks. Why they don't count, I don't know. It just makes it feels so bad to use something that's not Tressa against that. I can understand that the boss element will change overall, so Tressa will not be good or the best against all of them, but just that one change, I think, could really help. And I think that they should maybe get away from high score bosses with stacks anyway, and have different mechanics overall. The thing is that I want there to be 2 teams at least that are viable for high scoring, and at best case scenario 3. Of course, more would be nice also, but I think that is too hard to balance to have that many teams be viable for a high score on a boss like this. But having one team with like one setup of gear and one setup of cards, that in my opinion is just not acceptable in terms of balancing something like this. Another thing they could consider is having scores that are relative to the team you have. So we know that this is the top score for this particular team with Tressa, Cassius, and Mika. The first 3 don't really matter. They can be whatever as long as they clear the first stage within 5 turns. And maybe my team right here of Rinoa, Ray, Nia at almost 800k, let's just say for sake of argument, this is like the 10th best score for this particular team. So what happens is that after they have all of the computations and all the other teams, stuff like that, it determined that my overall team score, based on my setup that I have with my 3 characters, I'm like overall the 22nd best score, in the game. Maybe this one, maybe another team, but that's not this, is number 1, because that other team's team score is better because this one just has a penalty because of the overall scores it has. So the overall scores don't matter as much as the actual setup and what you're scoring with that particular setup, which I could be interesting. Now, obviously, there's a problem with this in that if somebody just brings a totally fake a team of units that nobody uses and nobody really has built, and they can do relatively well with it, they can get scores a little bit easier than other ones. So a solution I have to this is make it that you actually have to reach a actual score threshold before you actually get ranked on that leaderboard. So you can have have the threshold be like 650k, right? Something that is hard to reach but not unreachable overall, I think would be a good solution. I don't know, maybe have 2 different leaderboards, right? Maybe have one for top overall score, and then have one, like I said, where the score is relative to the team that you're using. Maybe not even the team that you're using. Maybe have it where you have one designated slot as your main DPS. And it's your main DPS where that character is the one that determines what your score is, right? So maybe have a list of everybody who's using Rinoa will have their own leaderboard for Rinoa. And everybody whose main DPS is Tressa will have that. I don't know. Maybe have some insane leaderboard where everybody whose main DPS is Mika for some reason, like World Pearl DPS Mika, they can have their own leaderboard too. Okay, stuff like that I think would be very fun and interesting, and make it so that it'll feel a lot better to use other units that's not the meta team, and also open up some interesting more deck building and stuff for content like this. That's just my opinion on the Great Rift and how it can be changed to make it for the better, just to be more fun for the general community and player base of the game. If you agree, comment below. If you disagree, comment below. If you have suggestions for yourself, again, please tell me. I'll be greatly appreciative of any support you can give. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Anyway, I'm Neptune. It's been a good one. Till next time.